Allison. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from around the world. Echoing a recent call from the Korean Bishops' Conference, Bishop Oscar Cantu, the chairman of the U.S. Bishops' Committee on International Justice and Peace, called for diplomacy and political engagement to resolve the differences between the U.S. and North Korea and avoid military conflict. And the bishop made his comments in a letter to Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. The letter follows days of back and forth threats between President Donald Trump and North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un after the passage of new UN sanctions against North Korea. Bishop Cantu went on to say in the letter to Secretary Tillerson that this crisis reminds us that nuclear deterrence and mutually assured destruction do not ensure security or peace, but rather exacerbates tensions and starts an arms race in an attempt to intimidate other nations. More news from around the world. Catholic Relief Services has just released a film focusing on the need to do away with orphanages around the world. They are not advocating shutting down orphanages in poor countries and turning the children out into the streets, but CRS officials said their vision is to transform orphanages in countries like Haiti and South Sudan into family resource centers, offering families the support they need to keep their children at home. Catholic News Service has more on this new video.
Catholic Relief Services is changing its approach to how the organization will help needy children in countries devastated by poverty and conflict. To do that, CRS and other aid organizations are committed to replacing orphanages with family care centers in an effort to keep a majority of the more than 8 million children now living in institutions with families. CRS has produced a video it hopes will change the mindset about orphanages.
Poverty is causing people to give up their children and is breaking the social fabric of families. And so we have done this new video to show people that we need to change the way we care for these children and support these families so that they don't have to give up on their children and so the children aren't isolated away from their families.
The video tells the story of a mother living in a desperately poor country whose economic circumstances force her to send one of her children to an orphanage.
What people don't realize in many of these situations is children that are in orphanages or in some of these centers and homes actually have a living parent. 80 to 90% of them have a living parent. And so we wanted people to know these children aren't abandoned. They have a loving parent who's making a very difficult choice, and she'd rather not make that choice. That mother would rather have her child at home. So if we can work extra hard and invest in that mother as opposed to investing in a center, we can save a family.
Looking now at news from around the country, at the end of July, Governor Greitens of Missouri signed Senate Bill 5, which some say could be the strongest pro-life legislation passed in many years. The measure was taken up in response to a St. Louis ordinance enacted in February, which provided a protected class status to any woman choosing to have an abortion and those supporting her in that action. The ordinance has also forced private businesses to include abortion coverage in their employee health plans, even if company owners had sincere objections to abortion. The Archdiocese of St. Louis and other pro-life entities brought suit against St. Louis, saying the ordinance violated their religious freedom because it granted protected status to abortion advocates. And according to the lawsuit, it also discriminated against those promoting pro-life alternatives. This new law, signed by the governor, will take effect October 23rd and features numerous pro-life provisions, including overturning the St. Louis ordinance, ensuring women hear medical information from a doctor before deciding whether to obtain an abortion, and on-site and unannounced inspections of abortion clinics. In news from the Vatican, in honor of the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Japan and the Holy See, a unique theater show was brought to the Vatican. Rome Reports has more on this ancient form of theater.
Rome was transformed into Japan for a few hours thanks to this show. The No Theater, one of the oldest forms of theater in the world, moved to the Eternal City for the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Japan and the Holy See. Spectators watched this traditional form of theater, which has been passed down from generation to generation.
まず文 Culture and religion are important when it comes to getting to know a population. Through these two things, it is possible for all to understand the different religions and to respect each other.
This work was written 1,000 years ago by a German priest who, while studying in Japan, wanted to make Christianity known. Japan is a country with one of the greatest cultural and religious diversities. Master Kaufasha Hosho believes that Pope Francis is a highly esteemed leader because he knows how to keep people together.
We really like Pope Francis. His work is based on understanding others, making everyone stay together, to have peace, and this is necessary in the whole world. Respect and understanding others, even if they do not share the same culture or religion.
And the Japanese ambassador to the Holy See, Yoshio Nakamura, also spoke about his country's relationship with Pope Francis and lamented that Japan is not so present in the Vatican.
There are no Japanese cardinals nor people from Japan working in the Vatican. Now, with the 75th anniversary, I would like to send this message so that others will see that we exist.
And finally in the news, Father David Hammond, a Navy chaplain who holds the rank of lieutenant, offered a mass and prayers August 6 for victims, survivors, and families of a Marine aircraft crash off the coast of Australia that killed 3. According to a news release from the U.S. Archdiocese for the Military Services, Father Hammond said the mass on the USS Bonhomme Richard in the Star of the Sea Chapel. At Archdiocesan headquarters in Washington, Archbishop Timothy Broglio of the Military Services offered his prayers for the 3 Marines killed and for their families and shipmates. He also offered thanks that Father Hammond was on board to offer consolation, sustainment, and the Eucharist. Well, that is all the information we have for you this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV Network.